The original skills started to develop in the 1970s. The cesarean rate was only 4.5%, so we focused on coping better with the natural occurring labor pain. We didn't want to suffer. We didn't want to feel out of control. We didn't want to feel overwhelmed. We wanted to cope and manage, work through, deal with, handle, stay on top of, and feel in control when we were having intense labor pains. When the bikini cut cesarean came in, because we were wearing bikinis and we didn't want to have a scar on our bellies, and the doctors accommodated. They also accommodated not knocking us out. They developed the spinal and then the epidural, and then fathers were permitted into the surgery. So the cesarean rate also went up. Diagnostic tools became more available to people, and everybody wanted to reduce the risk. In 1970, only 4.5% of us ended up with a cesarean. So whether our labor took 4 hours or 72 or 96 hours, that's what we did. And so women suffered. It hurt, and it could go on for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours with no progress. So you need to understand that when cesareans became easier, it was to address a failure to progress in the first or second stage in labor. It wasn't to be mean, it was to try to stop the suffering. So you need to understand that for us as just ordinary men and women, and we're answering this question, what about me? We're trying to figure this out. And one thing we figured out that you went through in the last lesson is the size of the baby relative to this tube, your bony pelvis. And then at some point we started to realize that this bony pelvis wasn't a skeleton hanging up in a closet. It was our body, and our body was surrounded inside and out with this stuff called soft tissue, our skin, our fat, our muscles, our ligaments, our tendons, what sticks things to each other. Everything is connective tissue. So tighten up down there now. That's what would be called a Kegel exercise. Tighten up down there. Do you think that's going to help or hinder something like this get out? My generation, was told to do hundreds of that hinders the ability of your baby to open us up. That doesn't mean pelvic floor exercises are wrong. It means they're great in the rest of your life, just not from 24 weeks of pregnancy to birth. For that short 16 weeks, don't do them. Instead, soften inside. So in this lesson, you're going to learn how to soften your soft tissue. And it's really, really important. It's vague. It's inside us. Nobody can see it. Did anybody see you soften up your rectum now? Are you still holding it? Soften more. Soften behind your rectum. Soften between the sit bones. Soften in your lower belly or in your lower back. And that's the word we use, soften. So you're going to learn more about softening your soft tissue.